I was sorting through the mail when I saw it. A bill for a storage unit I'd never heard of, Unit 247 at Secure Store on Maple Avenue. The charge was for $89, and it was marked Final Notice. Unit will be auctioned in 7 days. My husband Robert had been gone for 8 months. 8 months of learning to sleep alone. 8 months of managing finances I'd never touched while he was alive. 8 months of well-meaning friends telling me it gets easier. It doesn't. I stared at that bill. Robert and I had been married for 37 years. We didn't keep secrets, or so I thought. I picked up the phone to call Secure Store when my doorbell rang. The man at my door was probably in his 50s, wearing a navy suit that had seen better days. He held a worn leather briefcase. Mrs. Patterson? Margaret Patterson? Yes? My name is David Chen. I'm a private investigator. Your husband hired me 6 months before he passed away. He glanced over his shoulder at the quiet suburban street. May I come in? What I have to tell you, you'll want to sit down for. My heart started hammering. I let him in because something in his eyes told me this was important. We sat in my living room, the same room where Robert and I had watched countless movies, where we'd hosted Thanksgiving dinners, where I'd sat alone after his funeral reception. I received an automated email yesterday, Mr. Chen said, opening his briefcase. Your husband set it up to send to me 8 months after his death, if he didn't cancel it. He wanted to make sure enough time had passed for certain patterns to emerge. I don't understand. He pulled out a thick folder. Mrs. Patterson, your husband suspected someone was stealing from him. He hired me to investigate, but he made me promise not to tell you until after he was gone, he said. Mr. Chen's voice softened. He said he didn't want you to spend his final months in conflict. He wanted those months to be peaceful. My eyes filled with tears. That was so like Robert, always protecting me, even from the truth. Who? I whispered. Who was stealing from us? Your husband's financial advisor and best friend, Marcus Webb. The room tilted. Marcus Webb, the man who'd been Robert's college roommate, the man who'd been best man at our wedding, the man who'd sobbed at Robert's funeral and held my hand during the burial, the man who'd been helping me manage our estate for the past 8 months. That's impossible, I said. Marcus would never. I have evidence. Mr. Chen opened the folder. And your husband left more evidence in a storage unit. That's probably the bill you received today. He wanted you to find it. How did you know about the bill? Because Robert told me you'd need 2 pieces of information to take action. The bill would lead you to the evidence. My visit would tell you who to investigate. He wanted you to have both before you confronted anyone. My hands shook as I reached for the folder. Inside were bank statements, photographs, copies of legal documents. As I read, the story emerged like a nightmare in slow motion. Marcus had been stealing from us for 4 years. It started small. A few thousand here, a few thousand there. Robert had noticed discrepancies but couldn't prove anything. Then Robert was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and Marcus became bolder. He used a forged power of attorney, Mr. Chen explained. Your husband never signed this document, but it has his signature. Marcus used it to access accounts, to redirect funds. He even remortgaged one of your rental properties without your knowledge. But Robert would have noticed. He did notice. That's when he hired me. But by then, he was very ill. He was undergoing chemotherapy, and Marcus convinced him it was the medication causing confusion. Your husband started documenting everything, gathering evidence, but he knew he was running out of time. I looked at the photographs. Marcus entering a bank with documents, Marcus meeting with a notary, Marcus at a title company, all while Robert was dying. How much? I asked. My voice sounded strange. How much did he steal? Over $400,000. The number hung in the air like smoke. $400,000, our retirement savings. The money Robert had worked 50 years to accumulate. The money he'd wanted to leave me secure. There's more, Mr. Chen said gently. Your husband discovered that Marcus was planning to manipulate you after his death, to continue the theft. He's been managing your accounts for 8 months, hasn't he? I nodded. Numb. Your husband predicted that. He knew you'd trust Marcus. He knew Marcus would offer to help during your grief. That's why he waited 8 months for this information to reach you. He wanted to give Marcus enough time to either stop or continue. To see what kind of man he really was. Has Marcus continued? Mr. Chen pulled out more recent statements. In the 8 months since your husband's death, Marcus has transferred another $90,000 from your accounts. He's been careful, but not careful enough. Small amounts. A few thousand every few weeks. He's counting on you not to notice, not to question him. I thought about the past 8 months. How Marcus had been so helpful. How he'd come over every other week to review my finances with me. How he'd told me not to worry about the details, that he'd handle everything just like he'd done for Robert. How he'd looked me in the eyes and lied. The storage unit, I said. What's in it? Your husband's complete investigation. Copies of everything, plus a video he recorded for you. He wanted to explain everything himself. I drove to the storage unit that afternoon with Mr. Chen following in his car. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. Part of me wanted to turn around, to go home, to pretend I'd never seen that bill, to keep believing that Marcus was my friend. But Robert had left this for me. Robert had spent his dying months gathering evidence, protecting me even as cancer ate away at his body. I owed it to him to see this through. The storage facility was on the edge of town. Unit 247 was climate-controlled, medium-sized. Mr. Chen had gotten the key from the automated email. We opened the door. Inside were filing cabinets, boxes of documents, and a laptop computer sitting on a small desk. There was also a letter in an envelope with my name in Robert's handwriting. I opened it with shaking hands. My dearest Margaret, it read, if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and you've discovered what I couldn't tell you while I was alive. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I wanted to. Every day I wanted to share this burden with you. But I also wanted our last months together to be filled with love, not anger and legal battles. I wanted to protect you from this for as long as I could. I've known Marcus since we were 18 years old. I thought I knew him. I thought he was trustworthy. I was wrong. The betrayal hurt almost as much as the cancer. But what hurt most was knowing I wouldn't be there to help you fight this. So I'm helping you now. Everything you need is in this unit. Bank records, forged documents, evidence of wire transfers. I even hired a forensic accountant to trace every dollar. It's all here. On the laptop, I've recorded a video explaining everything. I've also included the contact information for an attorney, James Morrison. He specializes in financial fraud. He's expecting to hear from you. I've paid his retainer already. Margaret, I need you to do something for me. Don't confront Marcus immediately. Don't let him know you're suspicious. Let him think you still trust him. Give the evidence to the attorney first. Build the case properly. Marcus is clever, and if he knows you're coming, he'll hide assets, destroy evidence. I know this is hard. I know you want to scream at him, to demand answers. But please, be strategic. Be patient. Let the law handle this. There's one more thing. In my investigation, I discovered Marcus has done this before, to other elderly clients. You're not his first victim. If you take this to court, if you expose him publicly, you might help others. You might prevent him from hurting someone else the way he hurt us. I love you, Margaret. I've loved you since the day we met at that terrible college party where the punch was too sweet and the music was too loud. I've loved you through 37 years of marriage, through joy and struggle, through health and sickness. I love you still. Be strong. You're stronger than you know. You always have been. Forever yours, Robert. I sat in that storage unit and cried. Not quiet tears, but deep, wrenching sobs that came from a place of rage and grief I didn't know existed. Mr. Chen stood outside, giving me privacy. When I finally stopped, when I'd read Robert's letter 3 more times, I opened the laptop. The video was queued up on the desktop. Robert's face filled the screen. He looked terrible, thin, pale, his eyes shadowed. This had been recorded near the end. But when he spoke, his voice was steady. "Hello, sweetheart. I wish I was there with you, but since I'm not, this will have to do." He explained everything. How he'd noticed the first discrepancy 2 years into his diagnosis. How he'd tried to give Marcus the benefit of the doubt. How the evidence had accumulated until it was undeniable. "Marcus knows I'm dying," Robert said on the video. "He thinks that once I'm gone, you'll never question him. He thinks you'll trust him completely because he's my oldest friend. He's counting on your grief to keep you blind." "But I know you, Margaret. You're not weak. You're not helpless. You're the woman who raised 3 kids while working full-time. You're the woman who nursed me through cancer without complaint. You're the woman who held our family together when my mother died and my father fell apart. You're stronger than Marcus thinks, stronger than even you might think right now. So here's what I need you to do. Take this evidence to James Morrison, file charges, sue him in civil court, expose what he's done, not just for us, but for his other victims. Make sure everyone knows what he is. And Margaret, don't feel guilty about this. I've already mourned the friendship. I've already processed the betrayal. You don't need to protect Marcus's memory for my sake. Do what needs to be done. The video ended. I sat in the silence of the storage unit, surrounded by evidence of my husband's love and my best friend's betrayal. I called James Morrison the next day. He reviewed the evidence and confirmed what Robert and Mr. Chen had told me. The case was solid. Forgery, fraud, elder abuse, breach of fiduciary duty. Marcus Webb had committed multiple crimes, and Robert had documented all of them. But here's the thing, Morrison said during our first meeting. If we move now, we can catch him in the act. He's still transferring money from your accounts. If we wait just a little longer, we'll have even more evidence of ongoing fraud. It'll make the criminal case stronger. How much longer? 2 weeks. Keep acting normal. Keep trusting him. Let him think he's gotten away with it. Those were the hardest 2 weeks of my life. Marcus came over for our regular financial review. He sat in my living room, drank the coffee I made him, and explained my accounts to me while stealing from me. I smiled. I nodded. I thanked him for his help. Inside, I was screaming. But I remembered Robert's words. Be strategic. Be patient. At our second meeting, Marcus showed me a statement. See, Margaret? Your investments are doing well. Robert would be so pleased. The investments Robert had made were doing well, but Marcus had skimmed thousands from them. I saw it clearly now. The small transfers he disguised as fees or rebalancing. How had I missed it before? Because I'd been grieving. Because I'd trusted him. Because Marcus had been at our wedding, had been there when our children were born, had sat next to me at Robert's funeral. Thank you, Marcus, I said. I don't know what I'd do without you. He patted my hand. That's what friends are for. When he left, I threw up in the bathroom. 2 weeks later, James Morrison filed charges. Criminal charges with the district attorney. A civil lawsuit. We went public with everything. The news hit Marcus's office like a bomb. Within 24 hours, 3 other clients had come forward with their own complaints. Within a week, it was 7 clients. All elderly, all widowed, all people Marcus had befriended and then betrayed. The total theft was over $2 million. Marcus called me the day the news broke. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. His voice was shaking. Margaret, please. You don't understand. Let me explain. I was going to pay it back. I was just borrowing it. I had some bad investments, but I was going to fix everything. Please call me back. Please, Margaret. We're friends. We've been friends for 40 years. I deleted the voicemail without finishing it. The legal process took 14 months. 14 months of depositions, hearings, evidence presentations. Marcus hired an expensive attorney and tried to claim that Robert had given him permission, that these were legitimate transactions, that the power of attorney was real. But Robert's evidence was meticulous. The forensic accountant Robert had hired testified. The handwriting expert testified that the power of attorney was forged. Mr. Chen testified about his investigation. I testified about the storage unit, the video, Robert's final gift of truth. The jury deliberated for 3 hours, guilty on all counts. Marcus Webb was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. He was also ordered to repay every dollar he'd stolen from all his victims, plus damages. I won't lie and say I got all the money back. Some of it was gone, spent on Marcus's gambling debts and bad investments. But I recovered most of it, enough to be secure, enough to honor Robert's decades of hard work. But more than the money, something else happened. During the trial, I met the other victims. Widows, mostly. Women who'd trusted Marcus during the worst time of their lives. We started meeting for coffee, then weekly support groups. We realized we'd all made the same mistakes. We'd all been too trusting, too vulnerable, too willing to let someone else handle the complicated financial details. We decided to change that. I used some of the recovered money to start a nonprofit organization. We called it Trust But Verify. We provide free financial literacy classes for widows and widowers. We teach people how to read bank statements, how to spot red flags, how to protect themselves from financial predators. We also advocate for stronger elder fraud protections. We've worked with state legislators to pass new laws requiring better oversight of financial advisors. We've created a network of pro bono attorneys who help elder abuse victims. Last month, we helped a woman in a situation almost identical to mine. Her deceased husband's business partner had been stealing from her. Because of our organization, she knew what questions to ask, what documents to request, how to protect herself. She caught the theft in 6 months instead of years. That's Robert's real legacy. Not just protecting me, but helping me protect others. I visit Robert's grave every Sunday. I bring fresh flowers and tell him about the organization, about the people we've helped. I tell him that his final act of love rippled outward in ways he never could have imagined. Sometimes I'm angry at him for not telling me sooner, for handling it alone while he was dying. But mostly, I understand. He gave me peace in those final months. He gave me time to love him without the distraction of anger and legal battles. And then, after he was gone, he gave me the tools to fight back. That's love. Not just the romantic moments or the grand gestures, but the quiet acts of protection, the careful planning, the evidence gathering, the final letter explaining everything. I'm 73 now. I've been a widow for almost 3 years. I still miss Robert every single day, but I'm not the same woman who opened that storage unit bill. I'm not the grieving widow who trusted too easily. I'm stronger now. I'm wiser. I'm someone who helps other people find their own strength. If you're reading this, if you've lost someone and you're trying to manage finances you don't understand, please listen. Ask questions. Request documentation. Don't sign anything you haven't read carefully. Don't let anyone rush you or make you feel stupid for not understanding. And if something feels wrong, trust that instinct. Robert trusted his instinct, even when it meant suspecting his oldest friend. That instinct, that willingness to investigate despite the discomfort, saved me from losing everything. You don't have to do this alone. There are resources. There are people who can help. There are organizations like ours that exist specifically to protect vulnerable people from financial predators. Marcus took money from me. He took advantage of my grief. But he didn't take my future. He didn't take my strength. He didn't win, because Robert made sure I had what I needed to fight back. And now I'm making sure others have what they need too. That's how we honor the people we've lost. Not just by mourning them, but by using the gifts they left us, by becoming the people they believed we could be, by turning our pain into purpose. Robert believed I was strong enough to handle the truth, strong enough to fight back, strong enough to help others. He was right. I am. And if you're in a similar situation, you are too. You're stronger than you know. You're capable of more than you imagine. You can survive this. You can fight back. You can turn your tragedy into something that helps others. You are not alone. I learned that in a storage unit filled with evidence and love. I learned it from a husband who protected me even in death. I learned it from other victims who became friends, who became warriors, who became advocates. We are not victims. We are survivors, and we're here to help you survive too. The bill for that storage unit was $89. It was the best money Robert ever spent, because it didn't just contain evidence of a crime, it contained proof of love. It contained a roadmap to justice. It contained the beginning of my new life. 8 months after Robert's funeral, that bill arrived, and everything changed. If you're waiting for a sign to ask questions, to investigate suspicions, to demand answers from the people handling your money, this is it. This is your sign. Trust but verify. Protect yourself. Don't be afraid to seem paranoid or rude. Your financial security is more important than politeness. And if you discover you've been betrayed, know that you can survive it. You can fight back. You can win. Because love doesn't end with death. Real love leaves you with tools, with strength, with truth. Robert left me all three. And I'm using them every single day. That's my story. That's why I'm sharing this with you today. Not for sympathy, Not for attention, but because somewhere out there, someone needs to hear it. Someone is in the same situation I was in. Someone is trusting the wrong person. Someone needs to know it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to investigate. It's okay to protect yourself. Please share this story. Please talk about financial literacy. Please check on the elderly people in your life. Make sure they understand their finances. Make sure they're not being taken advantage of. And if you've experienced something similar, please reach out. You don't have to fight alone. There are resources. There are people who understand. There are organizations that can help. Robert spent his final months making sure I wouldn't be helpless. I'm spending the rest of my life making sure others won't be either. That's how we change things. That's how we stop predators like Marcus Webb. Not just by prosecuting them, but by educating potential victims. By creating communities of support. By refusing to be ashamed or silent. I was 65 years old when Robert died. I thought my life was ending. I thought I'd spend my remaining years alone, managing a grief I could barely understand. Instead, I discovered a purpose. I discovered strength. I discovered that Robert's final gift wasn't just evidence or money. It was the belief that I could handle the truth, that I could survive it, that I could use it to help others. He was right. And if you're facing something similar, if you're discovering betrayal or fraud or deception, you can handle it too. You can survive it. You can use it to become stronger, wiser, more capable than you ever imagined. That's what Robert taught me in that storage unit. That love doesn't make you weak or dependent. Real love makes you strong enough to face any truth, strong enough to fight any battle, strong enough to build a new life from the ruins of betrayal. I miss him every day. But I'm grateful too. Grateful for 37 years of marriage. Grateful for his final act of protection. Grateful for the strength he always saw in me, even when I couldn't see it in myself. 8 months after Robert's funeral, everything changed. A bill arrived in the mail. A private investigator knocked on my door, and I learned that love doesn't end with death. It transforms. It empowers. It protects. And it gives you exactly what you need to survive.